Hello Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the weekly series where I get to chat with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Alrighty then, you lot. So who is the guest on this week's episode, I hear you all ask? Well, why don't we all find out? You all know the drill by now, but here's a reminder. Sit yourselves down, put your feet up, make yourselves comfortable, and let's take a look at some of his collection and photography in a musical montage. Righty ho then, another fantastic collection, and there's some absolute awesome toy photography. It is a pleasure to welcome to the channel once again, Nate Dinger. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you doing this evening?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm really excited to chat to you again because I know I've had you on the channel before, and we did like a toy photographers showcase where you sort of like spoke through your photography, your top 5 photos, I think it was. This time it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about your collection, why you got into collecting and all that malarkey, and we're going to also just briefly touch on your photography as well. So, because you've sent me some video clips as well, which we're going to be playing in the interview as well. So it'll be interesting to hear your process behind that. So, but yeah, when you're ready, we're cracking with the first question.
Sure. Whenever you're ready, I'm
Good.
I'm good
Cool
to
beans.
go.
Cool beans. Okay, what toy lines were you into as a kid, and what memories do you have of those toy lines?
It's definitely it was Star Wars that initially was my favorite, hands
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
Um, and it was, I happened to fall in that age bracket where the movies came out. I started watching the movies, and as soon as the movies were done, the toy line immediately came out, and I was like, "Hey, mom, dad, got to have one of those. Got to have one
yeah,
of those." And that's kind of how it worked. Sometimes I
yeah.
won that battle, sometimes I didn't, and then after that, um, once they started to get better at giving action figures joints,
Yeah,
GI Joe came out, and that's kind of where I fell into that. And then I
yeah.
started buying GI Joes for a while. And then when my son was born, we started watching the Clone Wars together. And then I immediately started to collect, really buy for him those
Okay,
toys, you know. And then we
yeah.
started to kind of jump back over to Star Wars. So
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So was it just Star Wars and GI Joe then? That was your main toy line as a kid. I mean, because at that time, I think we probably around the same age. Were you into like things like Transformers, He-Man, that kind of thing, or was it just predominantly Star Wars and GI Joe?
yeah, I really didn't have a big pull to He-Man, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And I probably had 3 or 4, Transformers, and if I'm being honest, I probably put them into the Star Wars lineup, and they just were different robots that nobody
Oh,
knew,
okay, yeah, 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 yeah,
but that was about they were probably gifts from somebody
yeah,
else, so they were not my top,
yeah,
toys to go to, but they
yeah.
were, they were cool. And now I've watched the movies and since, and I enjoyed them, but they were never my top
Yeah.
line by
So,
any
what was
means.
life like then for you before Star Wars?
As we've talked about before, I was military. So
Oh, what is
it
it? Well,
was,
like when you were a kid. Sorry, when you were a kid. So before Star
yeah,
Wars came out, and
it
yeah.
was, it was those little green guys that you could buy in a
Okay, yeah, I know
jar,
the ones you
the
mean. Yeah,
little
yeah,
army guys. I would dress up in, you know, military clothing and that kind of stuff. I was very much into, even the older school GI Joes that they had back in the
mm,
day. Like I had one of
mm,
those that somebody had given me.
yeah,
So that was kind of the line that I
yeah.
fell along. So that was kind of where I went.
Awesome.
You
And
know.
then obviously Star Wars came out. So what was
Yep.
it about Star Wars that made you sit back and go, "Whoa"? I mean, was you old enough to go to the pictures or the theater to see it when it first came
So I
out?
didn't see the first one. I was still
Yeah,
a little bit young, but I saw the second one in the theater. Um, and it was just amazing the way he did the special effects back then.
yeah,
I mean, as
yeah,
as a kid, to go from things like this, the special effects that they had in other movies that were
yeah,
along the fantasy genre, and then you jump into Star Wars, and then he has the spaceships, the battles, the just the special effects, Death Star, that scene where they
yeah.
blow up Death Star. There was nothing even close to that, you know.
Absolutely.
So for me, that just hooked me, brought me in, and it kept me
Mm.
there, and it's pretty much kept me there ever since.
So a year
So
after the film came out, the toy lines came out. I mean,
yep.
so I'm assuming it must have been quite Star Wars heavy then at Christmas times and birthday times and stuff like that.
It was, sorry, cat trying
That's
to drop
okay.
in. It was definitely easy shopping for everybody in my house,
Yeah,
and you know, I was definitely a big fan, and to be honest, it was easy for me to kind of get out there and do my own shopping as well.
yeah,
Um, I I would work around the house, get some money, and that's pretty much what I went out and bought. I
yeah,
I
yeah.
had a
I mean, back
huge.
then the figures were relatively quite cheap, weren't they, compared to
They were,
today's
yeah.
sort of like prices and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, they were $2 or $3, I think, as I recall.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I was pretty smart too. There was a flea market not far from my house, and
Oh
I
wow,
used to
okay.
go. I used to go to the flea market, and they would sell them for like a quarter a piece. So
Oh
I had
wow.
a huge collection at one
Yeah.
time. Unfortunately.
I mean, the offerings were quite good in the stores as well, because like we've said it like
Yeah.
quite a few times before in this series, where you'd walk into a toy store and you just see all these like from a whole aisle full of like Star Wars, GI Joe. I mean,
Yep.
how was that for you as a kid? I mean, because I know a lot of people were, wow. I mean, did you get that same buzz when you went in? That same feeling?
Oh yeah, and I still do. I mean, I walk into
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, that when I walk into the store now, I mean, my wife is like, "Oh, let's go to Home and Garden, or let's go and look at this," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'll catch up. I'll be over here." And I go and check out what's new, what's on
Yeah.
sale, what's being clearance, and I always end up in the toy section, and and I
I mean, it's totally changed the toy sections now, isn't it, compared to what we were as a kid?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but I guess that's the way it goes, isn't it? Like, things move, things change and stuff like that. But
Yep.
I mean, for me personally, I wish it would go back to those days where you could go into the toy store and just, have that choice of figures and choice of toys and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I really miss the Toys R Us that we had here because it was just huge. I used to take my son there when he was little, and they just had just a gigantic collection of stuff that you could pick up, and it was it was awesome.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Then you said GI Joe came along. So with GI Joe, was it the animated series that you saw first, or was it the figures that you saw first?
Oh, that's a tough question. I want to say it was the animated series first, and it was definitely that animated series that brought me into the collection. And I don't think I really stuck with that collection for very long.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 2 or 3 years, and then I started to age out, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
And then I stopped collecting for a while and had kind of a break, and then eventually I came back to it.
Yeah. So you must have caught, like, I suppose it would have been the earlier years of GI Joe then.
Mm-hmm. I think
for me, I mean, for me, sorry, for me personally, that was the best years. I think it was 1982 when it came out, and then I think through to 85 or 86, I think were probably the better years for GI Joe, with the vehicles, the look, the aesthetic of the the figures and stuff like that.
Yep, and I still have some of those around from the original.
Oh, wow!
From when I originally had them, but not nearly as many as I would have liked. So unfortunately.
So you said I mean, you've always been into military. So was that what drew you to GI Joe? That kind of military look and stuff.
The fact that they had movable elbows and knees is what brought me into them. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, if they had done that with the Star Wars guys sooner, I would have continued with Star Wars.
Okay, because I know I've heard people say that when the last 17 Star Wars figures came out, they should have come out with the joints and stuff like that. And the O-ring, like the GI Joe, and for me, I don't think that would have looked right, because you'd have had the 5 POA Star Wars figures, and then the last 17 would have been like O-ring and like articulation and stuff like that. I don't think that would have worked, in my opinion. What do you think about that? Do you think they should have come out with movable joints and stuff like that, like GI Joe?
So I think you're probably right, because they have the articulation that they had when my son's collection came out. And then they switched back to some that don't have any articulation. And those were, like, in my mind, we didn't buy hardly any of those because they were kind of a downgrade in sales. You know what I mean? They didn't match up to the figures that we had been buying for years. So, and we didn't really understand why they went back to that model, So it was one of those things that I agree with you. I don't think that they would have worked, but still, back then, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah. I mean, as well as like the action figures, the TV series, the animated cartoons on a Saturday morning or after school. Were you ever into comics or anything like that? I mean, because I know GI Joe had the Real American Hero comics that was really popular back in when we were kids, and I loved reading those. And I used to get a lot of my like inspiration and ideas for playing through reading those comics. I would
Yep.
try and recreate that story, then sort of like add bits to it and or change things and stuff like that. And I mean, did you ever do things like that?
Yeah. For the show too, really. The TV show, the movies, the comics, some, but my parents were pretty hard sell on picking up comics, even though they were cheap. And that's usually
Yeah.
how I would get them. Is I would pick them up on my own for like a quarter here or something.
Yeah.
Get them pretty cheap.
Mm.
But that was, that's definitely where I got a lot of my inspiration for those types of things. I remember, and my dad was a Marine too, so I would always ask him things. Is that real? And he'd be like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, that's not real. I'm like, you're not telling me the truth, And I would still do it, in my little scenarios that I would build, because I didn't care, in the comic books and in the show, it was fun and
Oh, absolutely,
dynamic, and it worked. So, kept me entertained. So.
Absolutely. So you touched on the films there. I mean, they did G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, then G.I. Joe, was it? Oh, what was the second one they did? I can't remember. The one with Dwayne Johnson. What did you think of those movies? I mean, did you like them?
So I recall the first one, I think, was pretty decent. The one where they killed everybody, didn't really understand that one. Like, and everybody kind of gave that one, like, it seemed like everybody gave that one a pass, but that was
that was the second one, wasn't it? That was the second one where Duke died. Yeah.
Yep. And it seemed like they literally just killed an entire generation's heroes all in like a 2-hour film. So I haven't seen any of the other ones ever since, just because I didn't understand why they did that. They were so casual about it, But I mean, the first one, as I recall, was pretty decent, but I never thought they really captured the characters either. They didn't match them to the animated series very well.
No.
They just kind of went their own direction, but
yeah. I mean, you say that they sort of like wiped out. You're right. They did. They wiped out a generation of characters as we knew as kids. And I think this day and age, they seem to be doing that a lot, don't they? With, I mean, you look at like Han Solo, Princess Leia, the way they treated Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogies. I don't want to get too much into that, but it just seems that for them to get new people in and new stories, they've got to kill off the old. And I don't see why they've got to do that. Why can't they integrate it?
Or just let them retire.
There's that as well.
Let them move on. Let them move on. Become generals or whatever. A lot of time has passed,
Absolutely. I think you alluded to it a little bit about your favorite toy line. I mean, I'm going to ask anyway. So what was your favorite toy line and why, and what made it stand out head and shoulders about all the other toy lines?
It was definitely the Star Wars toy line. And it was just the different characters, really. I was, believe it or not, like, I don't really care one way or the other about the Jedis. Which, and I say I don't care. I mean, I do, but I find that a lot of the sub characters have like pretty dynamic stories, that they can go with. Like Han Solo's story has a pretty significant backstory. The clones have a pretty significant backstory. All of those smaller stories are actually really quite interesting to me. They're the Jedis, of course, are big and huge parts of the movies, it's parts of the stories, which is obvious. That's what we're gonna see. But there's so much that can be played with like Boba Fett's story and Mandalorian story. I think is a really cool way to kind of integrate the commoner into that Star Wars series. And I love those. And you get a lot of that out of the reading, the comic books, you know, subsources, not necessarily the films.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean,
So
my
those are
appreciation for the prequels, it grew a lot through the Clone Wars because of the Clone Wars. You know, I love the stories they told. I love the arcs that they had with the different clones. You know, Echo Fives, and those kind of guys, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought for the time the animation was fairly decent as well.
Oh yeah, that's what my son and I kind of got hooked on, which brought us Star Wars back into the household.
So you actually collected the Clone Wars figures then, the thinner sort of like animated. I mean, I thought they were pretty cool.
Yeah, we loved them. We have quite a few of them. Ironically, I was going to tell you, we went over to take all those pictures and everything. Have found just digging through, we found a bunch of them, like Captain Rex. We found like 3 or 4 or 5 of them that we had forgot we even had. You know, just sitting there. Cody, you know, stuff that we didn't even remember that we had, and they were boxed up. You know, brand new. You know, good condition. There's memories, you know, and I remember buying that stuff because they were his first toy, you know. So it was.
So with your son then, does he just predominantly like Star Wars, or is he into other toy lines as well, like G.I. Joe? Because I mean, they've got G.I. Joe Classified series out now, haven't they? And they're 6-inch figures. I mean, does he like that kind of thing, or is he just predominantly all Star Wars?
Well, my son is actually starting college.
Oh, okay.
Actually, he's already started college.
Wow.
So, but he when he was still, you know, playing with action figures, he was a big fan of a lot of things, you know. Star Wars being a big part of it, but also Marvel. He was a big fan of Marvel. I'm trying to think what else. He a little bit of Transformers when he was young, but not for very long. And he never really got into the G.I. Joe at all, really. He never did it all, and I think that's because of the movies. He never.
Oh, okay.
And there was never a TV show that he picked up on. So
no, fair enough. When did you stop playing with your toys, and when did you become a collector, or when did you start back into collecting again?
So I still play with them, sort of. And that's with the photos. So I would not say that I don't play with them. I just do it in a different way. But I started to recollect them probably when he was born. It was funny. I used to work in the school system when I was in the Army, and we would teach anti-drug classes and everything. But whenever the kids would go to lunch, we would have time off, and I would always go to the school. And my son was like a huge astromech droid kind of kid. He had like 20 of them, you know. Every time they come out with a different one, I would grab it, bring it home, grab it, bring it home. And every time there was a clone, I would grab that and I would bring it home. So he had like a clone army with a bunch of astromech droids, you know. So that's probably when I started back again, I would say, for sure. And as far as like, those obviously would get opened and played with, and then maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I started picking up Black Series again.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I have some of the big ones, you know, the 12-inch figures that I
the Hot Toys. Hot Toys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd pick those up every now and then
Yeah.
forever. You know, I would see ones that I'm like, yeah, I really like that one. I'm gonna just grab that, and I would just bury it somewhere, and that's what I would pretty much get. So I've been getting those forever. You know, I've
Oh,
got
cool.
quite a few of those.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. I mean, they're not cheap, are they? Those Hot Toys or Sideshow
no,
ones?
no, they're especially not cheap now.
No.
You
No.
know, but they're really neat to look at. You know,
Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah. They do make fantastic display pieces.
yeah.
Absolutely. So? What toy lines do you currently collect? Then is it just Star Wars that you're predominantly collecting, or is there anything else that you sort of like?
No,
I'll go like that and get that.
if the price is right, I will pick up GI Joe because I think
Yeah.
the new classified series, I think it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
is very very highly done. And I did
Mm.
actually just recently pre-order the two of the 50th anniversary or 60th anniversary pieces where it's actually they're not GI Joe figures that you would know, but they're just like two guys all tan with 50 cals and everything like that. They're
Okay.
on Hasbro Pulse.
Yeah.
I picked them up because they're just going to be perfect photo pieces. You know,
Yeah.
they look like general infantry. You know,
Mm.
GI Joe. You know,
Yeah.
so I grabbed those because they're going to be perfect photo pieces. So, and I can't picture a better shoot than with those. I can do all kinds of stuff with them. You know,
Yeah.
so
I mean, I've been lucky enough to see some of your toy photography, and I'm going to be showing
yeah,
some different bits today. And I've got to say, what you do with your photography is pretty cool. But we'll touch on that in a minute. So do you have a sentimental piece or a prized piece within your collection?
So when you asked that question, I really didn't have. Well, generally speaking, all the Captain Rexes have a special place.
Okay.
Just because that was our favorite, me and Gabe's favorite, or my son's favorite piece
Yeah.
growing up. But me personally, I don't really understand. I think this dates back to when I was a kid, like a little kid. I really like Jawas, and
Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
have picked up every Jawa that I can ever find, and
Wow.
I have like just stashed them away somewhere, you know. And I don't care what size it is, you know. And one year
Yeah.
I even took one of the bigger ones up into the mountains with us, and we took pictures with him all over the place, you know. And
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I just really like them, and
That's really weird because I
so
don't think I've spoke to anybody who's got like a
I
Jawa
don't know.
focus. That's crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
idea why, but I've got like 15, 16 of them running around, you
Wow.
know.
You must have loved the Mandalorian when you saw the off-world Jawa. It's like, wow, a
Oh
different
yeah.
color cape. Yeah.
Yep. I was like,
No,
yes.
it wasn't a cape, was it? Was it like a darker cape, but they had red eyes, didn't they?
Yep.
For some
Yep.
reason. That's
Yeah.
really weird.
Yeah. I've was like, it really hurt me not to buy the Christmas one just because he didn't match all the rest of them. Couldn't do
Oh,
it. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I was like,
fair enough.
no.
Yeah.
But
Fair enough.
yeah, for some reason they're quite entertaining to me. I don't really understand,
Wow.
but
That's
they're funny.
yeah. Wowzers. You say you like Captain Rex, you got a bit of a soft spot for Captain Rex. How much would you like to see a live action Captain Rex in one of the TV series, like Ahsoka or something like that?
I am hoping that they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I know they showed him briefly in Ahsoka, but I'd really like them to do an actual backstory for him.
They showed him in Ahsoka.
Somebody said that. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh
yes.
It was in the flashback scene, wasn't it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I won't
That's
give
what I
too much
heard.
away. Yeah.
That's what I briefly heard, is that it was a flashback scene. But
yeah, I'm not going to say
I
anymore.
I think that it would be great he's one of those characters that I'm talking about, that it would be great to see what happened with him.
I think it's pretty incredible. The guy who voiced those clones, he's voiced every single clone. He must have spent hours in the room just talking to himself. That must have been so hard to do. It really must have been hard. No interaction so much.
And he
with anybody else.
I saw an interview with him, and he said he literally has a different characteristic for each one of them too. So
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's better than me. Couldn't do it.
I gotta say that is pretty talented. I mean, because they all sound roughly the same, they're clones, but they're, like you say, there's a different element of characteristics or tones in their voices and stuff like that. Because he also did the Bad Batch as well, didn't he?
Yep, he did.
Yeah, that's just mad, absolutely mad. Do you have a Grail piece? Is there anything that you would like in your collection? Not saying it's got to be the most expensive thing in the world, but it could be something that you saw and you thought, I'll go back and get it, and you went back and it had gone, and you've not seen it for since then.
The gunship, the clone gunship.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah,
I would like to have one of those at some point. I'm not above building it. I'm just not that talented, But I would love to pick one of those up someday, because a friend of mine has one. It's just an amazing piece, and I would hang it somewhere, and it's beautiful, and I would love to have one.
You would hang it?
I've never even. I would try to.
Wow.
I mean, it's just a amazing ship, and I used to love watching it on the show, and I deck it.
I like the sound of them. They've got a real distinct sound, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and I think it would be a really neat piece to have. I think it's so big; it's actually a lot bigger than you think it is. When you see it in the room, the only place that you could put it would be to hang it.
Wow.
For me, because
I don't secure that.
Yeah, you would. I would secure it quite well. But I think the only place that you could legitimately put it would be hanging from the roof.
Yeah,
that's how that's how I'd say it to my wife.
Look, listen, I don't think I give Clone Wars enough credit, because, like I say, I watched the prequels, and for me it wasn't Star Wars, because we had A New Hope, we had Empire Strikes Back, we had Jedi. I loved the characters, I loved the vehicles. With the with the prequels, I was like, man, well, it wasn't great, but it was only until the animated series come out, and then you had all those awesome vehicles that come out, like the gunship, the Republic shuttle, or the the Republic shuttle, the ATTE or whatever you call it. And I wished back then I would have collected those vehicles, because they look absolutely tremendous. And now I've managed to pick them up at a more expensive bloody price than I would have done if I'd have gotten back in the day when they were at retail. But I've just got such an appreciation from now. I think they're fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Really cool. And it's such a shame that the retailers don't sell these vehicles anymore, because you had the big yellow Y-wing, didn't you? The big. Yeah. Absolute awesome. Absolute awesome. Right. What got you into toy photography? Because, like I say, I know you've done a lot of photography, but I've got some pictures and we'll show them in a minute. But your toy photography, I think, is pretty first class. So, what got you into toy photography?
So, I literally kind of did it on accident. I just had some firecrackers that were left over from our July 4th or New Year. I can't remember which, but I had them, and I had a couple Bad Batch figures. So I just kind of laid them out and kind of threw them on the ground a little bit and buried the firecrackers parallel to them. And then I just set the camera up, put it at what I call shotgun mode, which it's just real fast. It just takes
Yeah.
pictures real fast. And then I had my son. I was like, all right, just light him up. And he did. And when he did, the pictures came out kind of cool because the way the firecrackers blew up next to them, it cast like a barrage of dirt and rocks and debris over them. And it just looked really, really neat. And I was like, I wonder if anybody else ever does this. And then I started to kind of look into it, and I saw that there's like this whole line of people that do photography like that. So I started to do different styles. Then I started to build things that would go with it. I got a 3D printer, to build certain set pieces. And then I started to get the set pieces and make them more complex. And then I learned that I don't know, the more complicated it gets, the more I like the photos, because it just makes it, the pictures when they come out and they're done, the more natural and the more real I can make it, the better. So I literally will take a simple couple of action figures and a couple of little set pieces and just a couple firecrackers, a smoke machine, and some other things, and I can literally make like a battle scene. And when I turn the camera around, put it on them, and take some snapshots, I can really create like a battle scene that looks like a legitimate Star Wars battle scene. And
Awesome.
And it comes out. And then I started to take other ones, other genres, other, Walking Dead and different things like that. And it's just gone from there, and I just take different things.
Well, I've got a couple of clips because you sent some clips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the clips. You've got the smoke effect and you've got the explosion effect. When I play the clips, your mic will be mute. So once the clip comes back round or finishes, then we can crack on. So I'm just going to show a clip. I'm going to do the smoke effect first. So here's that. As you can hear, the camera is going absolute mental. You're taking snaps away there. How many snaps do you reckon you took of that?
Each shoot, I probably burned through 300 or 400 shots. Easy.
Wow.
Yeah. Easy.
Wow. Yeah.
And that piece that you just showed is actually this piece right here.
Let me just put you up on large there.
Yep. It's real basic, not complicated at all. But to make it as real as possible, I literally made the trench. And then each sandbag is literally filled with actual sand.
Wow.
It's the the sand that's kind of clay-like, and then I made it that way so that I could stack them on top of each other. And I did it just like we did in the Army. And then inside it, there's an actual sick bay where you would take somebody who was wounded, which is one of the shots that came out of that. And then the trench itself, the wooden planks that are all throughout the trench, is literally popsicle sticks and then sand all around it, and more sandbags on the ground so you wouldn't know it. and hit it with some watercolor, and it's fairly simple.
Wow. Wow.
And the shots when they're done, they came out pretty good.
They come out really, really good. I mean, like I say, there's some in the intro, and then for those of you who are really interested, and there's more of Nate's photos in the outro. For that, how long did it take you to build that? Because you build your own sets, don't you? So how long did that take from start to finish? And
that
for you
one
to
probably
get the
took
shot that you want to get?
probably a week and a half.
Wow. Okay.
Probably a week and a half. This one did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say.
And you use the 6-inch Black Series figures, don't you, for those shots?
I do. Yeah, I pretty much use the 6-inch figures for everything.
Yeah.
I thought about using smaller series, but they just don't have the same detail. You know.
No.
And they're not as durable.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they do come back a little scorched. You know, there's a little scorch here and there. You know, but
then it gives him that lived-in look. I mean, does that worry you? Are you like, oh no, I burnt my finger and stuff like that, or are you you just, well, that would have happened in real life, I guess?
No, because these two figures that are here actually, they're actually painted in accordance with the rank, and the one with the red is a sniper, which is shore troopers, snipers, or whatever. They're actually painted that way, and then the one on the left is a captain. He's painted in blue, and just for fun, I put Captain's railroad tracks on his helmet as well. So it's, you know, just for fun. And then I just threw the dog in there just for kicks. You know,
that's awesome stuff.
3D printed dog. So
3D printed dog, awesome. That's awesome stuff. I've got another video clip, so I'm just going to play that again. Once again, the mic will go mute. So this is the explosion effect. So again, with the shots there, I mean, how many shots do you take of the explosion? Is it roughly around the same?
Well, for each time I put fireworks underground like that, it's probably about 20 to 30 shots. But I usually do several different variations of a figure in a different place, and then put different fireworks under the ground. So again, you're looking at 200 shots probably. And that way, in the end, I come out with 1 or 2 or 3 shots that really come true to be a really good shot that's worth publishing, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I noticed, like, for that video clip, you're not in a secluded place, are you? You're pretty much out there, because you can see other cars and like houses in the background. I mean, do you get any like funny looks from your neighbors or anything like that? People walking past, what the hell is going on here? Or are you just oblivious to it and quite happy just cracking on?
That day I did. I lit up a string of blackjacks, which is a lot. And it kind of shocked a lot of people, and several doors came open looking to see what was going on, and they're popping their head out, and I'm just kind of like, you know, I don't know what that was, you know, but they all know, you know, they've seen me do it before, so they just kind of look at me to make sure I'm not bleeding, you know, and they drive on, and it's all right. You know,
do any of them take an interest in it then? Do any of them like sort of like stop by and just ask you what you're doing and whatnot, or they don't
just
really care?
one, just one. Yeah, and his kids. Well, no, two, and it's their kids that are really interested. Like one of them, I ended up giving a photo to him for Christmas because he's
Yeah,
just such a huge Star Wars fan, and I ended up giving him a matted picture of one that his favorite character, which
yeah.
happens to be Captain Rex. So he got
Okay,
he got a really cool picture that
yeah.
he loved. So it's hanging up on his
Mm,
wall. So
mm.
one fan there, it's all good.
Well, no, look, if you reach out and you engage with one person, I mean that's brilliant, and hopefully
Yeah.
more people are get engaged and stuff like that. Because I find toy photography, I find it such a skill. I love it. I just think it's great that everybody's does they have different ways of doing things and stuff like that, and you're very hands on with your explosions and stuff like that. Where I've spoken to people before, and they make their own explosions and they
Yep.
do their, like, do you know what I mean? They do their fire effects and stuff like that. But I mean, you just blow it up. I mean, that's awesome. That's
It's fun. It's easier to just
yeah,
blow
I'm
stuff
sure
up.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely
easier.
awesome.
I keep thinking I'm gonna put some water on top of it in like a little cup and then see what happens with the water going over it. But I've
Yeah.
just not gotten
Yeah, I
around to
mean,
it yet.
are you always experimenting with things and stuff like that? What would happen
Yeah,
if I did this, and what would happen if I did that? I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's so
It's
cool.
fun.
So cool.
That's what
Yeah,
makes it fun. That's what makes it
yeah,
fun. I wouldn't
yeah.
do it if it weren't for fun. I
Oh
mean,
no,
it's
absolutely
it's
not.
there's just so many ways you can play around with it. That's like the
Yeah,
set here,
yeah,
and then the Evil Dead set. I mean, those two, they took a
mm,
long time to work,
yeah. I'm
to
sure.
build,
I'm sure.
but they're totally worth
Mm,
playing around with. They give me something to do.
absolutely, absolutely.
You
And
know,
talking of sets, I've got another little video clip for you, and this is
sure.
the Well of Souls. You made that, right?
Yes.
That is absolutely incredible. The detail, that it's just stunning, absolutely stunning. And I do have a photo that I'm going to show
Yeah.
shortly of that when you've got it all set up. But my God, the detail, the attention to the detail. I mean, how long did that take you to do? I mean, that is just incredible.
So for that one, it took me a really long time because in order to put it all together, I was trying to find a nightstand because I didn't want to just that stuff's real fragile when it's done, and I didn't
Mm,
want it to just break and crack and everything. Um, so I finally found like a nightstand, just a cheap little nightstand that I could work inside of and
yeah,
get all that stuff glued up onto a wall so it wouldn't crack and fall apart. Um, so all that one took a long time. I would say probably close to a month. I would say just finding all the pieces and getting everything done.
yeah.
Um, I would say it took a good month.
I mean,
And
how
I'm
long a
still not
session
done
do you
with it.
have? Sorry.
I'm still not done with it. I'm gonna still take some more photos with it. Um,
Wow.
I still have some shots, like because I have the altar room as well. I printed the the room where he puts the staff of Ra.
Yeah, yeah,
I have that. I 3D printed that. So at some point I'm gonna um, put that in there and have
yeah,
you know do that. And I want to actually have a laser line, which I'm gonna figure out how to do a laser pointer in which to do so.
yeah.
So I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that, and I without having the laser just being all over the place. So I got to figure that one out.
Yeah,
So
that'll look absolutely fantastic. I mean, it,
yeah.
it it just looks absolutely great. But when you do a like when you work on it and stuff like that, how long per session do you work? Is it like an hour, a couple of hours, or do you work on it longer?
It can be 2 to 3 hours long. Um, it could be a good 2 or 3 hours. You know, and
Wow.
it's but I don't even think about it. I just
Yeah.
sit. I have my desk. I have my desk when I write too. Um, so I either have my writing phases or I have
Mm.
my um, work on stuff phases. And
Yeah.
when I'm working on things, my desk is a complete travesty. I mean, I've got clay and I've got all kinds of things just all over my desk, and there's just
Yeah.
no way you can do anything but work on it. So that's though when I'm working on a project, that's what I'm doing. There's nothing else to do. I am
Yeah.
working on a project. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think it's time we get some photographs up. So I've got three pictures that you've done. So let's get these. Look at this. Look at that. I'm so clever now. I'm really happy with that. I learned how to do that. So I'm pretty impressed with myself there. So this is the first one. Now
okay.
you've sent me about 3 or 4 different versions of this, but you've got the different lighting. And I tell you what, it's amazing how much the lighting can affect the look of the picture. So can you just talk us through this one?
So this is the cabin for the Evil Dead, right? I modeled it as best I could off of the second movie. And as you're
Yeah.
looking through that door, if you look down on the floor, you can actually see the basement,
Right.
where the hatch is kind of propped up.
Yeah.
And there's a chain and there's a little demon trying to get out. Up
Wow.
on the banister there's another demon, who he's obviously about to shoot,
Yep.
which I didn't particularly. I thought it'd be different to arm him with a Glock, so that's what he's got.
Yeah.
And the chains that the door was chained, and it's been chained in other shots. But that chain right there is an actual chain that I used. It was like just a cheap dollar store necklace chain that I picked up for like $2, painted it black, called it a day. And the building itself, again, is an assortment of wood, balsa wood, popsicle sticks, everything else. And I just kind of I took a rough, one of the things that I use to rough up wood to make things look old is actually just a simple lava rock,
Okay.
all the different edges and stuff. And I'll just tear stuff up with it and just
Yeah.
it ages everything. So I'll just kind of push through all that. And then of course you have Ash, who is in the process of shooting the guy up on the Pelican Goose. And they're all fighting over the Necronomicon inside there somewhere, because it's in there.
But I mean, the attention to detail again. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have bothered putting the chain there, and I just think that's absolute genius because it just adds so much to the scene as well. It gives it that lived in and that realistic look about things. And so talk us about the lighting then, because like I say, you've got one with I think a yellow haze, then you've got one with like a bluey haze. What is it about the lighting? What did you use there for the lighting there? Well, obviously lights.
So I like lighting. I like playing with the lights. You never know what light is going to work. So I use smoke in here too. As you can see, it's pretty, frothy kind of. And the smoke that I use actually has a lighting system on it. Right. So I'll just kind of kick through the different lights as I'm taking shots. I have my go-to lights that I like that tend to go. And red is always one, especially if you're trying to kind of project an evil scenario. So red to me worked great. And on the front of the building, I also had small little little tiny lights, about say
Yeah.
big,
Yeah.
and they're also red. They're actually more of a pure red,
Mm.
and I projected them on the front of the building as well to kind of create that reddish look on the wood too, just to give it that overall, you know, pure red evil
Yeah.
look as you're
Mm.
heading into the cabin.
It does. I mean, that captures the atmosphere absolutely perfectly. It really does. It just it's fantastic. I absolutely, yeah, love that. Love that. And like I say, you've got different versions of that as well. The same shot, but you've
Yeah,
got different lighting on it as well. And the different lighting really does change the mood of the picture, so to
yeah,
speak, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
think it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's love that one. So let's move on to the next one. And
Yep,
this is the smoke that we
yep.
saw the video clip to. Again, I mean, you've got quite a few shots of this, but I mean, I'll just use this to show on here. The rest of in the intro and outro.
Yeah.
You happy with that? Happy with the way that's come out?
Um, I always
Or
have
could I
a.
chosen a better picture to put up there?
Oh, no, 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 no. I always have a special place for the snipers, you
Yeah,
know. And I took a similar shot um, up in Georgia of. Dang, I'm having trouble. Bad Batch Sniper. Having trouble thinking of his name right now.
Crosshair.
Crosshair. I took a
Yeah,
very similar picture of him. No smoke. He was just in the woods, but you could
yeah,
just see, you could just see their head, and you just happen to be able to just see this guy's head. And he's in the trench. He's got his weapon, and he is extremely deadly. As long as you can see his eyes, he's deadly.
yeah,
You know, so he is, for all intents and purposes, the most deadly guy on the battlefield right now because he is, nobody can really see him,
yeah.
but he can see you.
Wow.
So I like that picture for that reason. He
Yeah, I
is the
mean,
guy.
you explaining it, it just gives it like a feeling of menace.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
quite when you put it like that, because when I'm looking at that, I wouldn't have thought that to start with, and now you've talked through it and explained the feeling and the reasoning behind it and everything. You just think, God, that's yeah, that's
He can
pretty,
reach out. He can reach out and touch someone, you
yeah,
know, and,
yeah,
uh, and then he could be gone before anybody even looks his direction,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So that's
That's
why
crazy,
I like that
absolute
one.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I just hearing this the story and the kind of like the info about it and stuff like that. It's the detail. Again, it's awesome. And this one, I've got the next one, the third one. I've got to say, this is one of my favorites. I mean, so that
Yeah.
is just absolutely incredible. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. That one was hard to put together.
Yeah,
Um so the lighting on the floor, the torches per
yeah,
se.
yeah,
So I went a different way because obviously I couldn't really set fire, although we did set some fire. Um my wife set some fire with me on
yeah,
this one. Um she's fun like that. Um but what I did in that nightstand I was telling you about is I drilled holes in the bottom,
yeah.
and I ran lighting through. And then a while back, I had purchased some um, uh, baby doll bottles, like
Right. Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
And I essentially just ran the lighting into those bottles and kind of glued them together.
Wow.
And then when you throw a little bit of dirt on them, and push them down just a little bit, and you just leave just enough light to kind of shine out.
Yeah.
You can't really tell if it's on fire or if it's a dying torch or whatever. You can't really tell, you know.
You certainly get the effect that you're looking at, because I just
Right.
think that is absolutely tremendous. I really do. I love the lighting, the story behind it. You know, it's indie with the Ark of the Cabinet and stuff like that, and it's did you was you tempted to put snakes there? Have you got snakes in there? I can't see, or would you not
They
like real
are.
ones, obviously, but they are there.
They're there.
Wow.
You can see a few of them. There's not as many as I originally was going to put in there. Like if you look over on the left, there's actually two snakes coming through holes in the wall.
Oh, good God. Yeah, there is. Wow. Oh, my life. Yeah.
And then on the back wall, you can see a couple of curved snakes back there.
Wow. Yeah.
And then the two statues, they're just two statues. I used them for something else, and I threw them in there because I thought they looked cool. And then this big, long, dark doorway to the next chamber.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just black paint.
Oh, okay.
I framed it out. Like the pieces that I was using, I actually kind of ran out of space. Like I didn't have enough room for them to go.
Yeah.
So I just literally framed that out with balsa wood and then painted it black and then shadowed it so no one could really see into it. So it just looked like another entrance to a different chamber.
Yeah,
And then called it a
again,
day.
that's such an amazing effect, because it
Yeah.
it looks absolutely fantastic. It really does. I'm just so impressed with that. I mean, what do you do with the sets once you're done with them then? Because now you've got that picture there. What do you do with it?
This one is
Do you
gonna
keep it set up like that?
well, it's gonna change a little bit because this one's gonna be the I'm gonna use it for the map room.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm gonna pretty much use this as my indoor set piece. It's gonna be easier for me to take pictures with this because we're coming into summer here and it's pretty brutal in the summer. And
sure, yeah.
And then these other ones, I kind of just have kept them. You know, I just kind of put them in different places. And after I do the map room, this one will probably be the piece for the two infantry guys. I'm probably going to use this for the infantry guys, so the walls will have to come down.
Wow.
But
no, I've got to say, Nate, these are absolute quality. Really,
I appreciate
top class photography. Oh, absolutely. I just love looking at them. They're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I've got two questions left. We'll come up to the top of the hour, so we'll crack on. What gives you that toy collecting and photography buzz?
Something new, you know. As far as the toys, just seeing something new and different that I haven't seen before. And as far as the photography, just taking pictures of something that I haven't taken a picture of before of. I mean, you know, I take pictures of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So with both of them, it's literally just collecting things that I haven't collected before, or I haven't seen before, I don't personally have. So it's just a matter of I see something that I would really like to grab, you know.
Yeah.
And when it's with the toys, you know, it's, you know, you're kind of reigniting a small piece of that childhood that you had back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, so that's probably a more accurate piece for way to say for collecting toys. You're literally reigniting your childhood.
Yeah.
For just a second.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I agree with that. You know, every time I look at the stuff in here, it takes me back. It's absolutely love it. And I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to when you finally start taking photographs and doing sets of your G.I. Joe classified figures, because I just think they're going to be immense. They really are. I mean, yeah, I'm assuming that's what you're going to do, yeah?
Yeah, it's coming. I got stuff ordered. It just hasn't come yet.
Yeah, I'll look forward to those, because what you've done with your Star Wars and the Indiana Jones there is just mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. Last question: what does your collection and your photography mean to you?
Well, my collection means a lot. I mean, not dollar figures, obviously. It just means
Yeah.
it means a lot, as in my time with my son. You know, it means you know, kind of that that special time that I had with him when he was a kid. You know, looking back, I mean, because he's literally going to college, you know, and that time went so fast,
Yeah.
you know. So it's literally, when I see the stuff now, it's like I think of him when he was just a little guy and he's trying to be an adult now. You know, it's just so for the toys and the collectibles, it is literally looking back, trying to hold on to that childhood, his childhood, my childhood, you know. And I'm sorry.
I was going to say, where your son's concerned, does he like photography? Does he help you build the sets? Does he help you go out and do the photographs? Has he got an interest in it at all? Is it not something that he really sort of has taken to?
Sometimes he'll help me blow stuff up. He likes to blow stuff up. Yeah.
I'm sure.
But I try to get him to let me use some of his old collectible stuff that he's got boxed up somewhere, and he's like, "No, you're not gonna burn my stuff." I'm not. Yeah. I swear I won't do it. And he's like, "I've seen you do it before. It's not gonna happen." You know, and I'm like, whatever.
But I mean, yeah, I just think what you do is it's just such a talent. It really is, the eye for it, the talent to build the sets and stuff like that. I mean, that's time consuming in itself. And I know you've got more coming with like your G.I. Joe, you're waiting for the bits, but have you ever, do you ever think about doing like other like toy lines such as like Transformers or Motor, or is that something that you just doesn't really sort of float your boat?
So I would do it if I had them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you're not going to buy them, so you're not going to do it.
No, it's like if I'm not gonna, I wouldn't even say that. If somebody let me borrow them, I would do it. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's people that have them, but if somebody was like, "Hey, bro, here's a whatever," I would totally do it. But going out and purchasing stuff, I wouldn't even know what to purchase anymore. You know, like with the Transformers, like I don't even know where we're at. You know.
Well, true, yeah.
But I would still do it, but I would also want it to be like, pretty decent, decent quality stuff too, so I can make it look good. You know.
Well, if anybody's got any old Motu figures that they don't want, or like, I mean, I would say the Motu Revelations would be probably the nicer ones to photograph. Send them to Nate, and he'll take some snaps.
I'll send them back. Yeah, I'll send them back.
That'd be awesome. Awesome.
You know,
Nate, I've got to say, it's been absolutely amazing chatting to you again. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I've loved the photography. I love the little video clips you send. Unfortunately, that has come to the end of the chat. Where can people find you on social media? I'm going to jot these down because my memory is pretty shocking. So,
at Star Wars. Here, let me make sure I do this correctly because I don't want to mess this up. But it's been a minute since I've at Star_Wars_
Yep.
501st.
Yep.
_ Brigade. BRIGADE.
Yep.
DE.
Yep. And that's on Instagram, is it?
That is on Instagram.
And is that the only platform you're on?
I'm on others, but that is probably where you're going to see these photos the most.
Right.
I check messages. And everything else through Instagram more than any other place.
Cool.
Or I can
what I'll do then is I will sorry, I would leave the link to the yeah, Instagram page in the description below, so people can. And I highly recommend check his art out, or his photography out. It's absolute quality. It really is. Some really fascinating stuff, and a real good insight into how you go about setting stuff up and building stuff and blowing stuff up and doing your smoke effects and the lighting and stuff. It's it's so interesting. I love it. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, if you just want to know how to do it, message me. I'll tell you how to do it.
Yeah,
if you don't want to send,
that'd be good.
Your stuff or whatever, I get it, but I'll tell you how to blow it up in the proper way so you don't damage it. Because there are tricks. There are tricks for sure.
Yeah.
But it's too easy.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Nate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back on the channel. Really enjoyed the chat. Like I say, unfortunately, that is the end of the chat. So for all of those who've watched, I just want to say a massive thank you for staying with us right to the very end. This is Nate Dinger. Go check out his Instagram. It's worth it. Anyhow, take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Please help. Make a wish come true.